Brilliant. Well, obviously it's in its infancy and it's something that we're really developing, but the plan is that from September we're going to get all of our teachers to use Markbooks so that we've got data all in the system, all in one place, so that we can really have a really good functionality across departments, and head of departments are going to be able to put things into other people's into their team's Markbooks and things like that. So let's sort of talk through. The first thing is where to find the Markbooks, I suppose. So you can find the Markbooks from 2 different places. This is inside a pod for a class, and if inside a pod for a class, in analysis, you've then got Markbooks. And what happens automatically is every assignment that you set creates a column in the Markbooks so that they automatically happen there. We'll talk about what happens if you don't want a column in a minute. So once you've got your class, you can click the Markbook on the register tab. So you've taken your register, you can always check your Markbook and have a look, and you'll see exactly the same as you do if you'd gone via the pod. But one of the new features which we were really keen for and which has come in, which we absolutely love, is generally with a Markbook what you want to see is loads of data on the screen. And so the little square symbol with the sort of 4 corners of a square just next to the eye symbol, click that button, and what you get is you just get your whole Markbook on the screen, and there's a collapse button to go back to the screen you were on should you need to. So definitely, if you're just doing stuff in your Markbook, you want to be in that nice big screen so you can see everything. What's really nice in the Markbook is you get all your students, and you can also see their medical information, the SE&D information. You can hover over it and see the details, all the tag pods and things they're in. So you've still got that information there in front of you, and obviously if it gets updated in the system, it will automatically update here. My previous Markbook, everything was copied and pasted into a spreadsheet, and if I didn't update it, it stayed the same for the whole year. So this is great because it live update connected to the system. Add a new assignment if we want to, and create a new assignment, and we can call it whatever we like, test assignment or something exciting. And the marking type below, we can then add what type of mark we're going to want to put in our Markbook. Are we going to want a number? Are we want a grade? Do we just want to say, have they done the work? Have they not done the work? So we just want a yes or no. And then the bottom one is quite a new thing that's come in, because obviously sometimes it's just an assignment. You want them to do something, but you have absolutely no intention of it being marked in any way. Don't forget your calculator for tomorrow's lesson. Probably don't want that to be an assignment in your Markbook. So you can just, at the time of setting it, set no score or not in Markbook. It doesn't matter if you forget to do that, because there is a way of hiding things, which we can look at in a minute. But let's pick a number mark. So you set it up. Now, if you put next, we could put maximum score in. You don't have to. You can add that at a later point. Put next, and you can assign it to your students. You can put your due date. Now, the visibility tick there where it says show on students assignment list. So if we do that, if we leave that ticked, it will go as a normal assignment. So for the children, for example, to do it as their homework, for you to then complete and mark. But say you wanted to put a class test into your Markbook, you would untick that box, because the assignment isn't something that's going to appear in their jobs list. It's just something you want to record in your Markbook. So I don't know if you want to untick that box, Stu, and then it will just, the little tick box under this visibility.
That's what that, yep.
Okay, and then when you create the assignment, it will put today's date on it unless you change that.
So should I click now?
Click that, yep. You'll probably need to scroll right to the end of the Markbook. There we go. And what it's done is it's added a column. So in this particular case, we said it wasn't something that we wanted the students to complete in their own time. It was something we wanted to add to our Markbook. So it might be something you've completed in class or something like that. And then once you've got that, you've got underneath all the boxes to fill in. So that looks like it's Clarissa. Slightly to the left of that, Stu. You're about to write a comment. That one there, you can put her mark in. So, say we were choosing to mark it out of 10 and she got 9 out of 10. So we'll give Clarissa a 9. Okay, and then we can press enter, and we can put the next one in. Benjamin got 7 out of 10, etc., etc. Maybe Catherine, we want to put, she got 6 out of 10. We want to make a bit of a comment there. So if you click to the right there, it's not a comment we want to show to her parents. It's a comment for our own reference, but we think she put no workings in her work. So we just want to keep a note. I'm a maths teacher. Sometimes I want to keep a note of which pupils aren't showing their method or showing their workings, or what effort they're putting in. So we can put, so you put what should put no work into this. Okay, cool. Right. So we press save on that one.
Right.
Okay. And what you can see happens there is you've got a little comment bubble. And because you've got a little comment bubble, because you've made that comment, that sits next to it, and you can hover over it at any point to remind yourself what you wanted to remember about that piece of work. So if you had your Markbook up on a parents' evening and you wanted to talk to parents about that marks, really useful. You can just hover over and look what I noted when they did that did that work 3 weeks ago. Oh, I wanted to remember to talk to the parents about that. And so you can do that for each pupil. Obviously, there's no need to put a comment against each pupil, but you can. You can see at the top, it's automatically doing a class average.
I think we can do now.
Okay, it's that way around. I thought it was the other way around. You said to select award behaviour, then select your students. So once you've picked the students, you want to give several students a positive for that. If you click positive, what happens is really nice, is it fills in the description box the particular assignment that you are awarding that positive point for. So let's click that we think that there was great effort on that prep for Clarissa. So we can click effort and click save. And what will happen is two things. First of all, that behaviour point has been recorded in the behaviour point system. And secondly, you've got a lovely little star next to the work for Clarissa. You can see that you have given her a positive for that piece of work. Maybe if Catherine, we were upset with her work, maybe we need to select Catherine and give a behaviour point. And obviously, you can do multiple pupils at the same time. So if you've got pupils who've got the same reasons, so I personally mark everything and then decide who I'm giving behaviour points to that fit in the same category. We'll go for attitude to learning there, and her parents will be able to see it was a poor attitude to learning on this particular assignment.
Are you going to send it to detention? Is it bad enough for that?
Oh, I'm not sure it was that bad, so we won't send it to detention this time.
Fair enough.
And then we'll click save, and there we are. And you can see it's a red behaviour star, so you can see that we've recorded that we have given her a negative behaviour point for that particular piece of work. So, in the sort of basics, what you've got is you've got a column for every single piece of work you've set. You're able to record the marks. You're able to record comments you want to make about the marks that are easily visible. You're able to award behaviour points, positive and negative, associated with those marks, and easily, quickly see who's been awarded them. And so the other thing that can be done, but we as a school are not choosing to do, is you can then publish these marks to parents. So in your school's general settings, there is an option to make Markbooks visible to parents. So you'd go to your general settings and you'd decide yes or no, do you want Markbooks visible to pupils and parents? Now, we as a school have decided that we don't want that because we think if they start having some random information, it'll get confusing. Unless we had a school policy of very precisely the things that were going to be shared with parents, we think to have it sort of up to a teacher to decide what does and doesn't get shared at the moment would be dangerous, so we've turned that off. But maybe going forwards, we will turn it on and we'll decide that specific internal exam grades or whatever could be shared. But for the moment, we've got it turned off. But should you wish to publish work, you can go to the column and you can then publish those marks to parents. And if you do that, then the little I, you can actually see it on the previous column, the little I, and you can do it with or without notifying. They're published, and you can see those marks. Only the ones that have actually got a mark in them have now gone green, and they would be visible if you went to the pupil. If the pupil went to their profile or the parent went to the profile, they would be able to see those marks. And the comments, when we entered the comment, you might have spotted there's two boxes. One is a sort of note to self for the teacher, and one is a note to the parents. So, you may, if you are a school that's going to publish to parents, you may or may not choose to add comments that are visible to parents. And it's worth waiting the aside that they've got their very clever proofreading system set up on this. So if
it did not. He did not do very well. Very well. We'll do that.
Okay.
Not good, Ben. Should we try that?
Yeah, let's try that. So this is Catherine's work, and the jazzy proofreading is very smart and picks up the fact that this is not a good plan to do for Catherine, given that it should have said she, it had a spelling error, okay, and it had the wrong name. And I love the fact that it is able to pick up on that and do that. It's, you know, I say it's not because we're not publishing to parents, we haven't been using this, but I love the capability. And one thing that's sort of worth discussing in a bit is this will pick up on and move forward into reporting, because the reports and Markbooks are tightly linked. So, yep. So it's great visibility. You can put marks in. You can put you can publish to parents. You can put comments for yourself, comments for parents. You can do behavior points. So the next thing that is sort of very new is you can now decide that you want to break down a homework into component parts. So maybe click a random new one, Stu, rather than the one we've already put some data into. This is very new, so I haven't played with this very much, but click question 11 analysis. And within that topic, we can now decide that we want, so let's just have part 1 and a number out of 10, let's have. So you've got 2 parts, you're doing a humanities subject and you set 2 essays to make 1 homework, and you want to split it into 2 different marks.
Right.
So we'll say part 1 mark out of 10. We'll do a number mark out of, and then max score 10.
Oh, right. Okay, with you.
And then add another, and we'll do part 2, also out of 10, say. Okay, and we add those 2 questions. And now within that homework, and we're now just looking at this particular single assignment at the moment, you have the final mark, but you also can record 2 parts that made up that homework. So
that's more for my awareness. Would you only be saying part 1, part 2, or would you provide more of a description? Not normally.
I think it would depend on the teacher and what it was. If it was a 2-part homework and the overall title described it nicely, but you might well put, and if it's an REP prep, you might put the ethics question and the philosophy question,
with you.
Or something like that, depending on what it was. For me, it might be a non-calculated paper and a calculated paper, making the total end of year exam result.
Okay.
So yeah, it would depend on what you were splitting it up for. Certainly, if you're doing a question of analysis with loads of questions, you might even have the topic of each question, so you can then start to see which students have done better or less well on particular questions. Wow. So Clarissa got 8 out of 10 on the first part and 5 out of 10 on the next part. Okay. And I don't know, what's Ben going to get? He's going to get 7 and 3. Let's go for that. That's
pretty harsh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Catherine didn't do so well on the last prep, so should we give her a 10 and 10? She's done brilliantly on this piece of work.
Right.
Making stuff up here. But you can see as we put it in that there is a color coding going on. So the system knows that it's out of 10. And because it knows it's out of 10, with each question, you can see which students have performed strongly and less well on those particular questions. So at a glance, you know, in terms of your analysis, you can see maybe, okay, Catherine's done well on both, but maybe in general, they found part 2 harder, and that might want to focus your review work on. But maybe there'll be someone down the line where you go, actually, everyone else found part 2 harder, but that student found part 1 harder and part 2 easier. Let's have a look at why they have a different view on these things.
Neat.
I think one thing, Stu, the final mark at the moment,
yeah,
I think, oh, there we are. It's filled it in. Brilliant. Okay, I hadn't found that button. Okay. So,
yeah, I was wondering if we should do it automatically. So there's, I think, because just we should probably look at
doing it, fill it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really see any reason why Involve doesn't do it automatically, but it doesn't really do a lot of harm. It's a 1 click once you put all the bits in. And then that, you know, so that allows you the breakdown, allows you to see the details. But if you click back on the back to Markbooks, there you are. At the moment, you can only see the individual parts, so it's not taking up lots and lots of width in your Markbook. But if you want to click into that mark and find out, no, I think you have to click on the title at the top. Sorry.
Well, I think it's going back in this, isn't it?
Yeah, to get back into the question analysis. Okay, so you can go back in and have a look. So if you're reviewing that work with the class, you can have a look at all those details, but in your Markbook, you've just got the overall picture recorded. And that's a very new thing. That's, that's come out in the last week.
Yeah, or less than that. Yeah.
Less than that. Yeah, exactly. It's really, really new, very exciting. So I've probably forgotten lots of things. I think, one thing that we have changed recently, if you sort of scroll along, you will, sorry, I meant horizontally. You've got.
So we've now got the ability where you can freeze columns, which will then take that to the front. So if I click this freeze column, test assignment is going to magically appear over there. So you can just more easily find things.
Exactly. So what I was looking at scrolling horizontally, but I think this class hasn't been set enough assignments for us to have a horizontal scroll bar.
Correct.
Which is what I was looking for. So the reason you want the freeze assignments, which is sort of what I was going to show, is that certain things stick and certain things don't as you scroll along, and you can then choose what you want to show. The other thing that, you just showed it there on that menu, if you click on the 3 dots, on a particular assignment, if you decide that this assignment is not something you want to have all the time visible, maybe it was just a sort of note to self, it's getting in the way of your marks, it's not something you want to see, you can just hide that column. So at the moment it's frozen as well. So you said it was important, and now you think it doesn't need to be seen at all.
There we go.
So, you can choose what you see, and that will stick. So the next time you come back to that Markbook, if it was hidden before, it will still be hidden.
Right.
Now trying to think the best way of showing this next. So the next thing that can happen is that a subject lead can put a column into every single teacher's Markbook. Now, this is something I've learned about very recently because I'm new playing with this as well. So within the pod structure, you have to set it up right first. So you need a pod structure. I might just need to talk this through because I don't know if it'll be set up.
Definitely.
So on the pod structure, you can set it up so you have this staff pod with all of the classes. Say for me, I was testing it with Year 8 maths, staff pod with all 3 Year 8 math sets in that pod. The subject lead can then set a single assignment that might be your end of unit test to all of the pod, and it will appear as a column in all of the teacher's Markbooks. And then the subject lead will be able to look at the overall picture of Year 8 and see all of those results. And so, individually, each teacher just goes to their own Markbook and puts that in once, and it's there visible in their Markbook. I don't know about other schools, but for us, what we were finding was each teacher had their own Markbook. They recorded the marks there, and then they had to copy and paste them over to the Markbook that the head of department had set up in order to make sure that all the data was looked at as a whole picture, but they also wanted the information for their own reference. So this sort of saves that duplication of information. Right. So I think the key thing that's brilliant is that whole screen view. One of my colleagues said the only way Markbooks and Involve is going to work is if it works more like a spreadsheet. And you've got to be able to see lots and lots of data all in one go, because by being able to see lots and lots of data all in one go, you've got that versatility for a parents' evening. You're sat there in front of the parents, you've got your laptop open, you want to just be able to glance across and sort of in conversation see how pupils are doing and talk to their parents about it without sort of having to click. And actually, if you click on a student, Stu, what's quite nice in a parents' evening, sort of be in a parents' evening and you can see what it is that you're talking to about, because it's all highlighted. So that's quite nice. So you're going to add a report.
Yeah.
If you go to analysis there
and Markbook,
Markbook, then you'll see the column. So in fact, that one that we just done at the top there, test assignment, has just appeared because we published it just now, as it says with today's date on it.